Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for an incredible session of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Javan Okello. I love hosting this show, and today I also have a really special guest with me here today. If you're joining us for the first time, we do this every Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we bring African proverbs to get us started and to ground ourselves, because African spirituality is something that is important to me, and the way that we get to begin understanding it is by getting into the minds of our ancestors through these proverbs. So we take these proverbs seriously. We don't just flip through them, but we go deeper into what do they really mean. So we're going to talk about one proverb, and today we are talking about a proverb from Sudan. Sudan is the proverb that we are going to be dissecting, but I won't be doing that on my own. I have a really special guest that is joining me today, and my guest today is Fred Obemi. Fred, am I just saying your name correctly? I want you to just correct me if I'm not saying your name right.
No, you definitely tried. You did your very good work, actually. People find it difficult getting the gbe. There's a gbe in the ogbemi, so it's
Ogbemi.
Yeah, that is good.
I got it
Yeah,
now.
you did.
I got it
Well done.
now. Yeah, man, you are the founder of Green World Connect, and we are going to talk about that in just a moment. But we are going to start with this Sudanese proverb that says that a dog cannot carry its puppies on its back. A dog cannot carry its puppies on its back. If you're watching this on YouTube, I want you to share with us what this proverb means to you. And if you are listening on Clubhouse, I thank you so much for taking the time. And I also want you to think about what this proverb means to you. I want you to type it in the comment, and make sure you share the link to this conversation across all social media platforms, whether it's there on Clubhouse or whether it's on YouTube and any other social media platforms. The other thing that we want to go into later on is really what this proverb means to Fred, and I am also going to share the 3 nuggets of what this proverb means to me and my team, because we did some research prior to coming live here with you, and I just want to share those 3 nuggets quickly, because we have a lot to learn from Fred today. Every day, whenever we have a special guest, we really create space for us to make the show about them, So the show is about our guests. Yesterday, our guest was Sabrina, who is the CEO of a really great safety company, and we learned a lot about safety yesterday. So today, Fred Obemi is our guest, and here are our 3 nuggets of wisdom. I see that Fred is trying to figure out his setting there. Keep going, Fred. It's fine. Now, while Fred is figuring out his settings, we are going to talk about the first nugget of wisdom. Again, the proverb from Sudan, which I actually want to pin to the top of the room. I want to pin this proverb to the top of the Clubhouse room, so that if you are just joining us, you can easily gain access to the YouTube live stream, which is also on right now. Fred and I are live and direct on YouTube, and you can come there and join us. So the first nugget inspired by this African proverb is that the proverb is telling us that we should not expect too much from others. You know, we should not expect too much from others. They may be able to help us out, but they cannot do everything for us. This is something that we have to always remember, that even though we can get help, help is not always going to be there. How are we going to behave when there is no help? How are we going to survive when there is no help? Right now, there is drought. Drought is ravaging many parts of Africa, but especially East Africa, and really especially Kenya. In northeastern Kenya, you find that, you know, there's so many herders. You know, people keep cattle, and there are also a lot of wild animals that are in the game reserves that are being found dead in the wild. You know, there's no enough grass to feed these animals. So what are we going to do when there is no rains? What are we going to do during the drought season? This proverb also reminds us about that. What are we going to do during climate change? Number 2, we need to be self-sufficient and rely on ourselves first and foremost. You know, what are we going to do to build a foundation so that we are not so vulnerable? You know, we are not so vulnerable and dependent on others for our survival. Number 3, we should not put too much pressure on others, as they may not be able to handle it. You know, sometimes we've been helped by people so much, you know, and we are so used to aid, for example, so much that whenever there is no food aid coming to us, whenever there is no housing aid coming to us, then we get mad at the people that normally help us, instead of realizing that it's time to take all the lessons and build our own foundation and become independent. So those are some of the words of wisdom that we brought here for you today, and these were inspired by this Sudan proverb that says a dog cannot carry its puppies on its back. Fred is my special guest today, Fred Okbemi, who is joining us. Fred, can you tell us where exactly you're joining us from? And, you know, I introduced you as the founder of Green World Connect, but I just want to make sure you also add anything in your introduction that I may have missed, and then share with us what this proverb means to you.
Thank you for the opportunity being part of this wonderful program. It feels somewhat surreal when you started by playing the introductory tune, African Father in America. Yeah, it is beautiful, because being part of the conversation on Clubhouse, when you hear that, it triggers a warm feeling of being at home and being part of family. So I'm grateful for the opportunity you've given me. I'm joining from Canada currently, and yes, I am the founder of Green World Connect. It is a non-profit, still growing, that seeks to bring about a lot of positive change. Its onset was in Ghana, when we were part of a sensitization program with the Forestry Commission in a part of Ghana called Adan, a beautiful place actually. There we started, it's absolutely beautiful. It's suffering from some climate change problems, but it's a wonderful place. We joined them to do some sensitization programs about mangrove protection, the proliferation of water bags, plastic contamination in both the rivers, the streams, and the streets, and some other few educational programs. That was the onset of Green World Connect. We have been able to do some other few projects in collaboration with other NGOs when they had some problems with the tidal wave that happened recently. The more information you can find on the website. And we have a few projects in the pipeline, which is also on the website, that talks about some areas that we want to work on Examples are the Niger Delta region of Nigeria, which is part of my ancestry, where they face petroleum pollution, resource exploitation that has caused the destruction of both life and nature. So these are some of the projects. I might shed some more light on it later on, but these are all plans in the pipeline. For now, that is the introduction of self, for example.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, my brother, Fred. And yeah, I remember, you've contributed to this platform for a long time, actually. And I'm just happy that finally you're now our special guest. And I thank you for making the time. I want you to take a moment and share with us what today's proverb from Sudan means to you. I shared the proverb earlier. It says that a dog cannot carry its puppies on its back. When we emailed you this proverb, Fred, what is it that came to your mind the very first time that you saw it?
I had to think, actually. I had to think very deeply because it was quite an uncommon proverb, not like the ones you had previously. So I thought about its origin, Sudan, for example. But I tried to think why they had such a proverb, because there are always reasons why proverbs are given to people or why proverbs are created. And the history of Sudan is riddled with warfare, triumph, and division. And I try to relate that with the properties of a dog or the characteristics of a dog. And what I got from the proverb is that it spoke of strength, resistance, empathy. How? Because a dog is very loyal to its owner. That is its nature. When it loves fully and it protects with its life. When it has puppies, it changes from being a calm, loyal dog to a fierce animal that will die to protect its puppies also. So I get that from that. It teaches us how to be within ourselves. We need to have multiple characteristics, not defined by outside or defined by the nomenclature that we achieve or that are given to us. You can call a dog, but when it needs to be a tiger, it will definitely be a tiger. And its puppies, it does not carry its puppies on its back. That does not mean it's weak. No, it knows how to protect its puppies. It knows when to protect its puppies. So the proverb was really deep when I tried to relate it with the struggle of the Sudanese people. That even though they have gone through a lot, they still know themselves. They still protect the core of who they are. And as Africans, even though we have gone through a lot, we still protect ourselves. We still know who we are. And that is why, as part of my identification, I often do not identify solely as Nigerian or Ghanaian. I often identify as Nigerian Ghanaian because it defies the colonial project which created boundaries between Nigeria and Ghana or the African continent. It reminds me of the strength and the resistance as a people that we have. My ancestral connection with the Niger Delta region also tells me that there is a lot of work to be done on the puppies that we create, the puppies being our dreams, the puppies being ourselves, the puppies being our kids, the puppies being our cultural traditions, our identities. If we do not carry it on our back, we have to protect it. We have to reclaim our identity. So the proverb did speak to me in many ways, and I'm glad that I can share that with you.
That's beautiful, Fred. I just love that. And for those who are just joining us, if you're on Clubhouse, you're probably wondering where these two individuals who are speaking are currently. We are live on YouTube. The link, if you want to see our faces, is right at the top of the Clubhouse room. And if you are on YouTube and you've already joined us there, I really, really appreciate it. And I want you to know that our channel on YouTube is growing. And I want you to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And if you've already subscribed, give this video a thumbs up. We are having a conversation here inspired by an African proverb from Sudan. The proverb says that a dog cannot carry its puppies on its back. And my special guest today is Fred Ogbemi, the founder of Green World Connect. We want to go a little deeper now, Fred, and explore a childhood story. I share this story about myself almost with every guest that I host here, where I share how I used to distribute milk and bread. When I was 8 years old is when I really began. I had a bicycle in my neighborhood in the slum in Kenya. And, I learned how to connect with the community, relate with business people, understand the distribution, the supply chain within the slum, how goods come in and how people make money and how people live together, how to deal with conflicts, how to deal with insecurity, And so I always ask my guests, because for me, who I am today, the courage to do 5 episodes of the African Father in America podcast per week, Monday to Friday, and doing it at 6 a.m. came from those days, the days when I got used to waking up so early in the morning and being disciplined to fight, I want you to share with us a childhood story that inspires who you are today, whether it's as the founder of Green World Connect or at a personal level, maybe even as a father, because this show is about black fathers. It's about African fathers in the diaspora, in America, in wherever. So speak to us, please.
Thank you again. My childhood has a quite interesting composition, somewhat. I wouldn't want to bore you with more details, but I'll go straight to the story. I did think about it quite a while, and I think what will describe my journey so far to the person that I have become is linked to one event that happened as a child. And that is while we were outside, a car moved by that had a loudspeaker on it. And inside were a couple of people who were asking riddles and puzzles to anybody who would listen. And a group of us as kids, we went up to the car and we said, oh, we want to try and answer the questions. And the puzzle was that a man had to cross a river. In his boat, he had a lion, a goat, and yam. And he can only take one at a time or two at a time. No, it was one at a time. See, my memory doesn't serve. It was one at a time. He could only cross the river with one at a time. So how was he going to do it? That was a very innocent perspective on trying to attempt the puzzle. But when I think back now, I know that that very instant, that thing that happened spoke of my desire to get knowledge, to seek knowledge. And how that has inspired me and the NGO today is that I know that the power in knowledge is not just attaining the knowledge, but it's also the application of the knowledge. But in a broader sense, the knowledge of self as an African, as an indigenous person, is a lot more important than has been portrayed to us. In school, we have learned so much about the world. We have learned so much about other histories. We've learned so much that has dispossessed our spirituality or ourself from the African continent. And that colonized knowledge is what I challenge to change. Myself, as I rediscover myself, as I rediscover my identity, as I connect to my roots, that incident as a child, I think, is of greatest importance because it spoke of my desire to understand, to attempt, and to chase knowledge. I did win the puzzle actually. I was able to answer the puzzle correctly, and I got a lot of books. And they asked more questions, and they went away. They went miles away. Other kids stopped following the car, but I kept following the car in order to attempt another question. The guys were like, "Hey, no, it's just one per person, one per person." But I kept chasing it and chasing it. So it speaks of the importance of knowledge and how far I have come, and that is what the NGO also seeks to provide the knowledge on how to relate with one another, the knowledge on how to reclaim our space, the knowledge on the effects of climate change, knowledge on mental health issues, how that is used to. Yeah, sorry. That is it's a bit touchy place because right now I'm facing an issue with my kids in Canada where I have been separated from them on the basis of false mental health accusations. So even though the NGO seeks to talk about and as an advocate for mental health issues, I have been accused of having mental issues, and my kids have been prevented from accessing me. So these are things I do not want other people to face. Also,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's tough. It's tough because when you think about this proverb, a dog cannot carry its puppies on its back. And also the situation you just described that you're dealing with, where your NGO is trying to create safety and protect other people and educate other people, including about mental health. But here you're being faced by that situation, and somehow you have to figure out how to put your puppies on your back, even though you're not supposed to. Yeah, you're not supposed to. So I want you to talk more about that in a moment. And also, I want you to let people know how we can support you, whether it's just keeping you and your family in our thoughts and prayers. I'll give you an opportunity to just go a little deeper and share with us how we can support in that regard. For now, I want to welcome everyone who is joining us. I see Dorothy, I see Brother Earth, I see my brother Rocky, Lavender, and Steve. Thank you so much. We are here for the African Father in America podcast, and we do this show Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we do this show to make our ancestors proud and to document these conversations around African ancestral wisdom, so that as our children grow, they find a resource where, even though they can't be in the motherland, they can learn something deep about the motherland that they will not access in school. So those are some of my motivations for doing this show. And also, my motivation is really creating space for great leaders like Fred to have a platform to express themselves, share the stories of how they're doing personally, but also how they are growing and thriving with their ideas and initiatives. So we want to go into the work you do, Fred, with Green World Connect. I love asking my guests, what is it that when you think about the work you're doing with your company or organization, what is the one thing that makes you most proud?
well, I try to stay away from pride, but I do understand what you mean. I think what I find most inspiring about the work we have done with the NGO is that despite the inability to fully bring most of the projects to light yet, we have been able to start somewhere. And I think that is important because many dreams remain dreams without the actualization. And we didn't wait to have all the recommendations and the required documentations and registration and all of that because of lack of funding. We didn't wait to do all of that before we started action. We started action without even the name Greenwald Connect existing. Being part of the Forestry Commission in Adan was enlightening. Being part of conversations around climate change and issues that affect Africans and the world at large, those, I think, the very small wins are what are inspiring about the NGOs. It is not large like the UN or the other huge NGOs, but the fact that we're able to do something and achieve stuff without a proper structure, I think that is what is most inspiring about how far we've come.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Starting and trying to solve a problem is much bigger than just dreaming about it and fantasizing about it. Those are completely two different things. Many people get scared after they think about something for so long. They get scared and they start thinking of the reasons why they should not do something. They start looking for reasons to convince themselves why they should not solve a problem in their own community. And so I commend you for taking the courage to do all the work even before registering Greenwald Connect. And I know that we have a few of our friends on the stage, but I want you to just go a little deeper into something that you shared with us a moment ago. When we live here in the diaspora, in America, in Canada, sometimes we don't really understand what each other, what we are going through. One of the reasons why this podcast was started, to be completely transparent with you, is because there's a Kenyan friend of mine who moved from the Pacific Northwest, the Seattle area, to Vancouver when Trump became president. He was one of the best filmmakers I'd ever met. He was a music producer, and he had just left the U.S. Navy. He was a decorated, U.S. Navy, soldier, if I may call it that. But O.C. Farah, I don't know what they call people who work in the Navy besides soldier, O.C. Farah, but he was very, very successful. And he retired early. He was well educated. He had a few master's degrees. And one day his wife from Canada reaches out looking for him. And it was very unusual, And then, weeks went by and, posts started showing up on Facebook about people looking for him. And then eventually he was found that he had committed suicide in a bed and breakfast somewhere in Vancouver there. So we went and attended his funeral. It was a very, very terrible situation. Not just that he had passed away, but even his parents were not given access to his body because the corona didn't want them to see how they discovered him after a while, So it didn't look good, Anyhow, so again, if you're not married to an African woman, they don't take care of you even after you're dead the way that your people could take care of you. So in this regard, he was married to someone who was not African, and the way that his funeral was handled, he came from my tribe. He was from my tribe in Africa. So his family were very, very unhappy with how everything went. But that's how it was for us who are impacted by it. When I left that funeral, February 2020, I started this podcast just reflecting. In the initial episodes of the African Father in America podcast, I talk about his story. I talk about my own story. I reflect about, what it is like to be an African father here in America, and really being a father in general. Knowing that for me, I committed to being a full-time father because I knew that I could not spend all my time doing 9 to 5, doing my work in the community with One Vibe Africa. And my biggest job, I felt that the biggest accomplishment I could have in life is being a good father. And that required a lot of sacrifices and also just paying attention to what was going on in me and in the lives of people that were around me, especially my kids. So when we first connected around this interview, you opened your heart to me and told me the struggles that you're going through. So I felt that for me, what I could do to help was to give you a platform to share your story and to ask the community to support you however they can. So I feel that you should take a minute, maybe 2 minutes, speak about what's going on for you and how we can support you. And then we will hear maybe 2 people, sharing their own perspectives on the proverb, and then maybe comments to you. And then we will close our session right after that.
I appreciate the opportunity and I appreciate the sentiments you've said. And I hope that the spirit of the brother that was lost finds rest wherever he is. The difficulties that are faced by Africans in the diaspora, it's well documented, but experiencing it personally becomes a whole other issue. It's an active case in court, so I might have to leave some details out, but in summary, there is an accusation that has been put forth on my mental stability, and they have sought to prevent me access from my kids. It's been 2 years now or more and counting. The second time I was able to spend more than 30 minutes with my daughter was a couple of weeks ago. I have been able to make an application to be a self-representative in the case, to represent myself in court, because of the inability of finding a lawyer through the legal aid process, which is supposed to provide free lawyers. I was provided with one, but that was not in line with my position because I had refuted that there's nothing wrong with my mental health. And additionally, they've added more cases of me being a threat to my own family. I mean, we got married in Africa and we were in isolated places, myself, my wife, and my kids in Africa. And I wasn't a threat then, but then we come here and then they say, oh, you were a threat to your family, so we have to separate you from your family, which doesn't make much sense. I've had visits to a therapist just to satisfy that, but still. So I have thought that it might be necessary to get a private lawyer, and I started a crowdfunding. I have the details on the website there to be able to acquire a lawyer whilst I still prepare to be a self-representative within the court. I have found out that there are other people who face the same situations. There have been families of Africans who have been separated. The kids have been taken away by the state. They have been put in incarceration on all those bases, either false or true. But we can agree that there is a lacking within the system when it comes to the treatment of Africans or Africans in the diaspora or Black people. That is the design. So it falls upon us, be it Black, be it conscious, be it empathetic, being knowledgeable persons, to fight this, to change it, to change the narrative. Because it cannot go on like this.
No, it's not. It's not supposed to be that way. It's not supposed to be that way. And I just appreciate you for being courageous enough to open up with us today. Sometime, if you're from the motherland, you don't even have community or even a shoulder to cry on. And I think that's the hardest part. You don't properly understand the rules and the laws of the country and the communities you live in. And then there is also an additional layer to laws. There's the cultural norms. There are things that people will turn into laws, but specifically for African or Black people, there are certain laws that society creates for you, so that you can't even laugh loudly, and maybe from your community or your family, your people who talk loudly. I used to be an interpreter here in the US. I used to interpret for lawyers and judges and doctors. I've helped women give birth. Women, a lot of the time when you're in deep pain, you can't even talk in English. You can only talk in your mother tongue. So I used to help people who speak in Kiswahili, especially. And I learned a lot about what our people go through in this country. And even in Canada, that interpretation company was the second biggest in the US and Canada, actually. So, I just commend you for your courage, and I just want to open space for maybe one or two people to share their own perspectives in regards to today's conversation. But also, I want you to share with us how we can support you, in a moment. So for now, just listen in for a second, take a pen and paper and note some of the things that people are going to say, but be ready to share with us a link where we can go to stay connected with you and also to support you in your current situation. I want to quickly come to you, Stephen. Thank you for joining us. Share with us where you are, any comment to our guest, and your perspective on the proverb. Thank you so much.
Wow, I'm lost of words, Simon, but thank you for having me in this session. I'm joining from Kisumu, Kenya. I'm Stephen. Thank you so much for all that you've shared with us, Fred, and for the good work that you are doing with your NGO, Green World Connect. When I heard you mention the name, it brought to my mind a similar activity that we are doing in Kisumu, but the one in Kisumu is dubbed Kisumu Green Network. It's a consortium of CSOs that are climate champions, and we advocate for climate change activities. Today's proverb is an interesting one, and when I read this proverb, I try to contemplate and to really think on how a dog could really, with all possibilities, carry its puppies on its back. But then what comes to my mind is how the same dog is always protective of its puppies when it gives birth. If you try even just to feed it, even if you're the owner, it always goes for the meal you are serving it, but not forgetting the puppies that she bore. So, what comes to my mind is the lessons that I always learn from the dogs that I even keep in my own compound is being protective and uh, cherishing what you have at hand and giving your all to nurture what you have at hand. And talking of what you have at hand is also reminding me that of a say that goes, a bird at hand is worth more than 1,000 in the bush. So it's important for us to protect that which we have at hand and to safeguard
We must have.
it with all our resources. And of Fred's experience, I would comment and just give you a word of encouragement and motivation that greatness does not come easy. If you are destined for greater things and for great accomplishments, then you must also uh, endure a lot of challenges along the way. So, all these challenges that you are going through, being separated with your family, being tossed around, and even lacking a legal representation on something that legally is your right, they are just tests to prepare you for greater moments with your family. Indeed, it is a very painful not to be there for your kids while they're growing up and then get that moment with them when they've become of age. But I would just like to encourage you and to motivate you that there is no room for looking behind. Keep soldiering on, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you, and that was my moment.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve. Lavender, share with us your perspectives briefly as well, and where you're joining us, and your perspective on the proverb. And also, if you have a comment to Fred. Thanks a lot.
Hi Simon. Hi everyone. Um, this is Lavender. I'm joining from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'd just like to thank Fred for sharing with us the impact he has uh, towards the world, the work that he's doing to improve um, the difficult situations we have around the world, and also opening up. Doing that is not easy at all. And I'm praying with you and for you, wherever you are, and things will go great. It seems like this week, these proverbs are directing us towards safety, because yesterday we had Sabrina of Also Safe. She's the CEO of Also Safe, and she was also talking about safety. So when Fred was talking about his organization, um, it reminded me of Sabrina's conversation yesterday. My thoughts about today's proverb: a dog cannot carry its puppies on its back. There's a nugget that Simon shared about not expecting people to help you with all your problems, or depending on someone to help you with all your problems. This proverb is a tough one because and what I can say is just that let's do what we can, do right by yourself, do right by people, and things will work out. At the end of the day, things will work out as long as you're checking into that, doing right by yourself and doing right by people, doing right by yourself in the case of working hard, working smart, doing what you need to do to serve your purpose, and everything will fall into place. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Lavender. Let's hear from Stella briefly as well. Share where you are, your perspective on the proverb, and any comment to our special guest today. Stella must be far away from her mic, so we'll go straight away to Akinse. Akinse, I haven't seen you in a minute. Welcome back. Share with us your location, your perspective on the proverb, and any comment to my special guest, Fred Obemi. Excellent. It looks like we are done with our guests for now. We are done with hearing the contribution of our guests. We'll come back to you, Fred. You heard everybody speak. I want you to just comment and reflect on what they said briefly, and then share with us where can we go to support you in your current situation, and also how can we stay connected with you.
I give thanks for the comments. I give thanks for the well wishes. I give thanks for the admonitions. Steve, I appreciate your explanation of the proverb as being protective and to cherish what you have. And Lavender, the talk of safety that you got from the proverb also. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. It has always been nice hearing your voices each time on Clubhouse. I just hopped in on Clubhouse right now just to see the people on there, and it was reinvigorating again to see the same family. That's good, and I'm grateful. On the website, thegreenworldconnect.org, you can find more details about the case. As it progresses, I might upload some few updates, but not too much legal information so that I'm not held in contempt of the court. And there is a crowdfunding that started on the page there. Recently, I learned that it is being prevented from getting donations, but I will work around that and try to start something else. On Instagram, you can get me my name. The NGO you can get at green.worldconnect on Instagram. I think most importantly, as Africans, the support that we need is to remember us in our thoughts, in our prayers, and the connection that exists that goes beyond the physical, goes beyond the boundaries, goes beyond location. That is most potent. And as we think about progress and the success of others, that will be manifested. So that is what I think is most important. And I appreciate the time, Simon, and everything else.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fred. I appreciate you as well for your courage and, for doing your best. A lot of the time, there's really nothing else you can do but to do your best and to have faith, And I feel that, you embody all of that and you're doing your best. I do want to just read a comment here by K. Benjamin. K is saying that independence is not individualism. We must know even with our love of puppy, in quotes, we must remember Sankofa, the help of spirit. So we have, that's a comment from Kay, who is joining us live on YouTube. And also, I see that Brother Earth is saying also on YouTube in the comments that, he's here with spirit and he's unable to join us as a contributor today. I do know that Akinsey wanted to speak. So Akinsey, I have your mic unmuted. Go ahead and share your perspectives.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Very well, go ahead.
Yes, good morning, everyone. And again, I try to make this brief. I'll piggyback what everyone else said. Thank you, Brother Fred, for your work. And I want to give you some respect, peace, and power this morning, just to keep you on your journey with the worldwide work that you're doing to keep our people safe, keep people safe, but also for your journey at home. Being a father myself, I know that the journey is rough and can definitely be misunderstood and sometimes unappreciated. So I'll just say this to you, that the day that you fail or the day that you are unsuccessful is the day that you give up. So never give up. Even if you're not with your children physically as much as you want, they'll remember the days that you fought to be with them. So that definitely becomes a part of your legacy. The only thing I'll say about the proverb is that to me it speaks about really a question, like what is safety and what is security. If you think about a dog, right? A dog is not really able to reach its back with its mouth or paws or anything like that. When you think about human beings controlling dogs, they'll do it from the back. They'll grab the back, scruff of the neck, and then they'll move the dog here or there. So it would be a disadvantage for a dog to put their puppies on their back, because they will have no control. They will have no wherewithal over their development or over their safety. So, saying to someone a dog can never carry its puppies on its back is definitely, to me, in my eyes, in my perspective, telling someone that you, not only with children, but you can't put those things that you value in a position where they're no longer under your control or no longer under your umbrella of care and safety. So I would definitely say to everyone, if you value anything, if you have anything that you consider dear or important to you, don't put it on your back, as this proverb says. Put it somewhere near where you have some control. So I'll leave it brief because I know we're running short on time. So again, thank you, Simon, for doubling back and getting my comment this morning. Everybody have a great day.
You too. You also have a wonderful day. Stella, you are one of the people that make this show possible, and I deeply appreciate you. I'll give you space. Go ahead and, share your perspectives as well.
Thank you, Simon. Sorry, I was a bit late today. Hello, everyone. I'll be brief on today's proverb that is from Sudan, and it's talking about puppies and their mom. I think for me, what it deeply spoke to me is that we should know when to take a rest. And I think that's why the dog does not carry its puppies, because the dog knows when to take a rest. And that's what it spoke to me. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stella and Akinsey and Lavender and Steve for speaking on the show today. And I also see Jay and Jerry and Brother Earth and Rocky and of course Dorothy, who have been listening keenly. And we also had almost 30 people who came into the clubhouse room and listened to the conversation and left. I want to also commend everyone who joined us on YouTube. Thank you for helping us grow our platform over there. If you haven't subscribed, this is a good time for you to do that. The link is at the top of the clubhouse room. And I really appreciate that support. One last way that you can help is actually to go to my Instagram and follow me on Instagram, but also go to the link on my Instagram and tap in with our blog. We are writing blogs. When we finish these episodes, we write a blog post about it, so that if you can't listen or watch the show, you can still skim through your phone or your iPad or your computer and read, so that you understand and still gain some of this beautiful ancestral African knowledge that we share every Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Fred, again, I also, I'm sending you a lot of healing and strength, and just a reminder to keep taking care of yourself, no matter how tough the situation is. Make sure you're taking care of yourself, doing whatever you can to do physical exercises, meditate, just stay sane, because a lot of the time, there are things that are said to us that make us doubt ourselves, and this is a time when a lot of things are being said to you that will make you doubt who you are, that will make you doubt what you're capable of, and also how great over history you come from. So just remember who you are, breathe, and know that this is going to be over. This is going to be over. It's not permanent. So with that, we've come to the tail end of our time together today. Fred, do you have anything else to say before we push the end button?
No, simply appreciation. I just want to show appreciation for the time that you've given me to be able to communicate and talk about issues and comment on the program and being part of the program. And I also want to give thanks to Akinshe and Stella, who added their own understanding of the proverb. I give thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you again. And thank you all. See you all tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, same place, same time, and the same conversation. Thanks a lot. Peace and love.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington.